I argue with the TSA every time and win, but it's not pretty.
TSA.
Yeah,
Okay,
over
so-
this.
Oh.
What do
you think it is?
The knife in post
Okay,
unless they
Jason,
want me to
everything
render
set
and.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, everybody, please. Thank you. Brendan, whenever you are ready.
Yeah, we are ready.
All right. Welcome to the June 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Transportation Committee. My name is Jason Fromowitz and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight we are joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last name displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the meeting is adjourned. We have a lot of people here tonight, and I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to speak, both in person and virtually. When the time for comments arrives, please raise your hand in person or use the raise hand button if you are attending on Zoom. Just sort of a logistical note, in these meetings, we normally use the Q&A feature on Zoom to allow members to ask questions in writing, but just in order to manage and have an effective meeting today with so many attendees, we will not be using that feature tonight. Please be mindful in your comments. They will be, again, given the size of the attendees, we will be limiting comments to 1 minute per person. Thanks everybody for your cooperation. Barack will be taking minutes tonight. Thank you. We will now take attendance by roll call and Brendan will take the roll call.
Committee members, I will call your name. Your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Michael Cohen.
Present.
B. Desmond.
Present.
Mai Donahue.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg, I don't see. Anna Picior.
Present.
Marion Rowe.
Present.
Larry Shire.
Present.
Okay. Gabe Terza. Well, that's it. And Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Right. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. One note, I will propose that we actually, never mind, it's already reflected there. I think from what was sent out originally, we had ordered the 34th. Oh, no, that's right. Sorry. I do want to propose a change that we move number 3 to number 2 so that we talk about the busway first. I think that's what we have the bulk of the public here to wishes to comment on. And if there's no objection, we'll move forward with it, reordered and starting with Department of Transportation report and then followed by the busway. Okay, seeing no objection, the agenda is adopted. The minutes from the May 5th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Seeing no objection, the May 5th meeting minutes are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. All right, let's, in order to conduct an efficient meeting, we will observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used for any technical difficulties that you are having or state in writing information like an email address that was already stated out loud for the record, out loud on the record during the meeting. All right, we will go ahead and get started with our first item, which is report from the New York City Department of Transportation. Colleen, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Colleen Chattagoon. I'm a senior borough planner at the New York City Department of Transportation.
I don't have any items to report on tonight. However, we do have 3 exciting projects that we are going to be presenting tonight to the Community Board 6. And I'm very excited to share these safety improvement projects, which I know the Community Board is very eager in wanting to have these presentations. So without further ado, I know we're going to start with the 34th Street Busway. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Rachel Eisenberg, and members from the MTA who's joining us this evening, who's also going to participate in the presentation. So Rachel, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Sorry, just getting things settled on my screen. So as Colleen mentioned, my name is Rachel Eisenberg. I'll be joined in this presentation by my MTA colleague, Joe Charamonte, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so yep, today we'll be talking about 34th Street Enhanced Bus Priority. So just to go through what we're going to go over, we'll start out with some background and work to date, move on to our proposal, talk a little bit about traffic analysis, and then we'll discuss our summary and next steps and open it to questions. So starting out with our background. So why are we looking at 34th Street? Just to give you some context, our study area did include 12th Avenue to the FDR. Obviously, 34th Street is a very busy corridor with complex street demands, heavy commercial pedestrian activity. This is a Vision Zero corridor. It is, of course, located within the Central Business District tolling program, which was launched in January. It serves as a critical crosstown connector with connections to numerous subway lines, PATH, Long Island Railroad, New Jersey Transit, Amtrak, local and express bus routes that go north-south. These connections currently are made by via the M34 and M34 A SBS routes and express buses, and there are 28,000 daily bus passengers on those 2 routes along 34th Street. Now, of course, this isn't our first look at 34th Street. As many of you are probably aware, we have existing bus priority on the corridor. We have a combination of both offset and curbside lanes. The offset lanes are in effect 24/7, and the curbside lanes are in effect Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And now I'm going to turn it over to Joe to talk about bus speeds.
Okay. Thanks, Rachel. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So I'm Joe Sharmati. I'm with the New York City Transit Department of Operations Planning and Bus Service Planning. Been working with the select bus routes and the M34 for a while now. So the bus speeds did improve after the launch of the select bus service, which was in 2011. But the M34 and 34A SBS is still one of the slowest bus routes. So the current bus lane design isn't really working. Average weekday peak hour speeds are only about 5 miles per hour and as low as 3. So if you look on that map there, the darker red areas are where it's the slowest, 3 to 4 miles per hour. On the average weekday, road congestion is causing over 750 hours of passenger delays on the M34 and 34A. And by comparison, the weekday average bus speed on the M14 Street busway are 15% faster than on the 34th Street.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Sure.
So now just to go over a summary of our work to date. So curbside bus lanes were first added to 34th Street in 2008. As Joe mentioned, select bus service launched in 2011 with the M34 and M34A SBS routes. As a part of that, work, we upgraded many of the existing curbside bus lanes to offset lanes that are seen today and added 11 bus bulbs, with one still underway at 8th Avenue. More recently, this fall, we conducted pedestrian intercept surveys and merchant surveys along 34th Street between 2nd Avenue and 9th Avenue. Over 200 pedestrians were surveyed, and DOT visited 112 businesses along the corridor. Earlier this winter, we presented existing conditions to all of the community boards 4, 5, and 6. And in this meeting, we will be presenting a draft proposal. So just going over a little bit of what we've heard from all of that work. So from our on-street engagement, we heard about overcrowding on sidewalks, long crossing distances, concerns about congestion. Bus riders noted slow bus speeds and long wait times, and businesses noted an overall need for additional loading space on and around the corridor. From the community boards, we had a request for a 24/7 14th Street style busway, requests for sidewalk widening and other pedestrian safety elements, and requests for design and regulations to help facilitate deliveries for the businesses on the corridor. So now I'll get into our proposal. So probably not a surprise to any of you all, we are proposing a busway between 3rd Avenue and 9th Avenue in both directions on 34th Street. We are planning to maintain the existing bus lanes on the rest of the corridor. So between the FDR and 3rd Avenue on our eastern end, and between 9th Avenue and 11th Avenue on our western end. We are also, along with the busway, we are proposing some new pedestrian safety elements, such as painted pedestrian spaces, hardened daylighting, and concrete median islands. We're also hoping to prioritize curb management for loading and delivery needs. So now I'm going to jump in to, oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself. We're going to go over what a busway is. So just in case people aren't familiar, on a busway in New York City, buses, trucks, emergency vehicles, and accessorides are allowed to travel the entire length of the corridor. So in this case, all the way between from 3rd to 9th Avenue, 9th to 3rd Avenue, or any of the blocks in between. Local access is still allowed for all other vehicles, which includes cars and taxis and for hire vehicles, but those vehicles have to access the corridor from a side street and must leave at the next legal turn. This helps reduce congestion and makes bus service faster and more dependable, but it also allows loading and deliveries along the corridor and access to businesses, to residences, other needs for those other vehicles. So why are we looking at a busway? We're looking at a busway because we've already, we've done a lot on 34th Street, and we're really hoping to kind of push it even further, to prioritize truck and transit through traffic and improve the bus speeds further. We're hoping to eliminate cut-through traffic, so particularly for vehicles that might be going across town, but we know that this is a really important commercial corridor, so we want to retain local access, parking, and loading. We're also hoping to enhance the pedestrian experience, as this is such a high volume pedestrian corridor. Now, we have a really great nearby case study, 14th Street, to use as an example. So when the 14th Street busway launched in October of 2019, it launched in conjunction with the M14A D-Select bus service. So we already do have Select bus service on 34th Street. We're proposing the busway. So on 14th Street, when the busway and Select bus service launched, bus speeds increased up to 24% along that corridor. We also saw a decrease in crashes by 42%, and we saw minimal changes to travel speeds for streets around the busway. So even though vehicles were no longer able, private vehicles were no longer able to travel the entire length of the corridor. They had to, turn off or turn on from side streets. We didn't see significant changes to the travel speeds on those surrounding streets. What we did see was a great benefit to both bus service and safety. So after implementation, we surveyed bus riders and pedestrians, and we found that people mentioned faster and more frequent bus service, and people felt safer crossing the street, particularly those 62 and over. So now I'm going to get into, we're going to go block by block to talk about the busway. So we're starting at 3rd Avenue, which is, of course, within CB6 and is our westbound gateway. So as you can see here, we are proposing a new right turn bay in the westbound direction at 3rd Avenue. This is because all westbound cars must turn right onto 3rd Avenue. Only buses and trucks will be allowed to continue straight westbound on 3rd Avenue. Because of the additional turn volumes that we will be expecting here, we are proposing to add some daylighting. So when I talk about daylighting, what I'm talking about is, channelized space like we're showing here, or painted pedestrian space, which helps normally in New York City, vehicles can park all the way up to the crosswalk. That can make the sight line for a turning vehicle more difficult. And so by channelizing this space, by protecting it, by adding paint, by really eliminating this as like a parking space, we are helping improve the sightline of those turning vehicles, making it safer for those who are trying to cross the street, either waiting to cross or they've just finished crossing. Let's see, so now in the, as I mentioned, all vehicles at this westbound gateway are required to turn right onto 3rd Avenue in this westbound direction, except for buses and trucks, which can continue straight. Now, we do have an existing turn restriction in the eastbound direction. So as is the current condition, all vehicles traveling eastbound on 34th Street at 3rd Avenue will continue straight, again, as they currently do. Now, vehicles wishing to access 3rd Avenue, the north curb, 34th Street on the north curb between 3rd Avenue and Lexington will still be able to access the busway. They'll just access it via a left turn from 3rd Avenue. So from 3rd Avenue over here onto 34th Street. Now here at this intersection, we're also proposing a new concrete median island to help reduce crossing distances and help improve pedestrian safety a bit. Oh, sorry, was that a question?
Let's save questions till the end, Michael, if that's okay.
Okay. All right, so now moving on to Lexington Avenue. And I'm just gonna go in depth for these for a couple of blocks, and you'll see it becomes a little bit more repetitive. We're using a lot of the same features in each of these blocks. So at Lexington Avenue, if we're traveling, for a vehicle traveling in the westbound direction, because we have an existing turn restriction, an existing left turn ban, vehicles will continue going straight just as they do in the existing condition. In the eastbound direction, vehicles will be required to make this right turn onto Lexington Avenue. Only buses and trucks will be able to continue straight eastbound on 34th Street. Again, we're adding some channelization over here at each of the, at both the southwest corner and the northeast corner to serve as daylighting to help improve the visibility for cars and pedestrian interactions. Moving along to Park Avenue. So at Park Avenue, in both the east and westbound directions, cars and trucks must turn right. So at Park Avenue, if you're traveling east or west on 34th Street, only buses and trucks can continue straight. All other vehicles must turn right. Now, north and southbound vehicles can still access the busway by turning right from Park Avenue onto 34th Street in the respective directions. Now you'll notice there are existing turn restrictions for the left turns in all directions at Park Avenue, and those are existing. We're not proposing any updates to those turn restrictions currently. Moving along to Madison, again, because of the existing turn restrictions in the eastbound direction, all vehicles except for authorized buses must continue straight. We are proposing some new daylighting at the southwest corner. Westbound vehicles are required to make the right turn onto Madison Avenue from 34th Street via a new right turn bay. Only buses and trucks can continue straight. Again, northbound traffic can access the busway via a left or a right turn from Madison Avenue onto 34th Street. Now I'm going to quickly go through the rest of the busway. It's very similar, but just to give you guys a sense, and of course, all of this, we can always go back and talk about either the geometry within CB6 or outside if that's something you all are interested in. So continuing on to Fifth Avenue, again, we have the right turn bays. For the legal right turns, we're also proposing some additional pedestrian space. No updates to the existing turn restrictions. Again, southbound traffic on Fifth Avenue can access the busway via a left or a right turn from Fifth Avenue onto 34th Street. At Broadway, there are current turn restrictions onto and off of the busway. So vehicles will continue their existing travel patterns here. We're not making any changes to those turn bands. So all vehicles will continue going straight except for MTA buses, which can turn right in the westbound direction. At 7th Avenue, similarly, because of existing turn restrictions, vehicles will continue straight. We are proposing some expanded pedestrian space in the southeast corner of the intersection. At 8th Avenue, we're proposing a right turn bay in the westbound direction. Only buses and trucks can continue straight in the westbound direction. In the eastbound direction, because of the existing turn restriction, the existing left turn ban, all vehicles will continue straight through the intersection as they currently do. Again, at 8th Avenue, similar to some of the previous intersections, northbound traffic can access the busway via a left or right turn from 8th Avenue onto 34th Street. And finally, 9th Avenue is our eastbound gateway on the western end of our corridor. And you'll notice very similar to 3rd Avenue, where all traffic in the eastbound direction is required to make the right turn via a new right turn bay with some daylighting. In the westbound direction, because of the existing left turn ban, all vehicles will continue straight as they currently do. Again, traffic can access the busway via a left turn from 9th Avenue onto 34th Street. I'll also mention we're adding some painted pedestrian spaces to shorten the crossings at our existing mid-block crossings between 9th and 8th Avenue, 8th and 7th Avenue, and 7th and 6th Avenue. Again, these are existing mid-block crossings, so we're just hoping to upgrade those crosswalks to shorten the crossing distances. So just talking a little bit about enforcement. So we currently have the ACE, which are the MTA's on-bus cameras and fixed location cameras on 34th Street. When once we implement a busway, those new regulations will be updated with the camera enforcement. The cameras will issue violations for the first 60 days, and then they'll be enforced as usual. Of course, we work in close coordination with NYPD for any of our launches, but particularly for our busway launches. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about traffic analysis. So we know that this is a very important corridor. It's, central to the commercial heart of New York. We have, of course, it's bounded on either side by significant tunnel crossings with the Lincoln Tunnel and the Queens Midtown Tunnel. And we know that this makes 34th Street a very unique condition. Although it's great for us to have 14th Street as an example to look upon and a case study that we can use as an example and as inspiration, we know 34th Street is very unique. And so we know traffic analysis is very important to our understanding of, what will a busway mean for not only 34th Street, but the surrounding roadway. Because of that, we are currently we have work ongoing for developing a proposed condition model for how this proposal would affect traffic patterns. Now because 34th Street is, so significant, and we know that it doesn't only impact, the direct blocks north, direct blocks south. We are modeling, we're using dynamic traffic modeling to explore how the proposal affects traffic patterns between 66th Street and 14th Street from river to river. So that includes, the tunnel, all of their entrances and exits. This analysis will help us understand, if there are any, pinch points, what improvements can be made. Do we have concerns about, the busway? It's something we're taking very, very seriously. We also are hoping to use our traffic analysis to explore how signal timing changes might improve traffic flow for the blocks, surrounding 34th Street. As I said, this work is still underway, and when we do have the results, we'll be able to provide them to you all. But I just want to highlight that this is something that we are taking very seriously, and we know is super important, especially for such a significant corridor with such important connections to both the tunnels. So although our traffic analysis is still underway, we're able to do some origin destination analysis to understand where drivers are going who use 34th Street. So we've used data that is based on vehicle and app GPS data. So for example, if you were using Google Maps, it that kind of data. And from that, we were able to find that for vehicles traveling along 34th Street, only 1% have a destination on the corridor. So our stopping is on the corridor. 28% of the vehicles traveling on 34th Street are traveling in the areas directly north or south of 34th Street. And again, this is just looking at 34th Street between 3rd and 9th Avenue. We've also found that 24% of the vehicles traveling on 34th Street had destinations in other parts of Manhattan. So further north, further south, to the far east or far west. And we found that 47% of vehicles traveling on 34th Street had destinations outside of Manhattan. So whether that be an outer borough or you know, a different state or county. Oh, let me just go back for a second. So this really gives us an idea of, you know, how are people using the corridor? So this shows us that a significant portion of people using 34th Street are trying to, you know, get to something beyond just Manhattan. So whether that be tunnel or bridge crossings or whatnot, or maybe just, you know, further north and further south on the island itself. So moving on to our summary and next steps. So our goals for 34th Street are to make bus service faster and more reliable, increase safety, and ensure access to businesses. Our proposal is a 14th Street style busway between 3rd Avenue and 9th Avenue. And as we continue to work, again, this is a draft proposal. And so as we continue to work on this project, we're working to finalize our traffic analysis, further develop our design, and synthesize community feedback. Our next steps are this spring to meet with community boards to discuss the draft proposal. So you all are our last stop for community boards 4, 5, and 6, which this proposal touches. We're hoping that your all's feedback will help shape our final proposal. We're of course continuing site visits, visiting the corridor to understand you know, how people are using it and how we can improve it. Continuing on this summer, we will continue working on our traffic analysis and refining our proposal based on both that and feedback. And then later this summer, we hope to be able to share a refined plan with the goals of implementation in late summer or fall of this year. And that is all that I have. So I'll open it up to questions. And I'm going to unshare my screen, but if anyone would like me to pull up slides, please let me know.
Thank you very much. All right, so just some order of operations here. First, I'm going to open it up to the committee for questions. Not comments yet. Let's save like comments and thoughts for later. So first we're going to open up with questions, then we're going to open it for the public for comment. Again, we'll give everybody the opportunity to speak. Everybody will have 1 minute to speak. And then we'll bring it back to the committee to have further discussion. So I will start us off with questions from the committee. Michael, go ahead, please.
Actually, I was looking at the slides. I was looking at the 3rd Avenue slide particularly, and some of the other ones. On some of the slides, did you pull up the 3rd Avenue one?
Yep, 1 second. All right. Sorry, everyone. All right, the 3rd Avenue slide.
The 3rd Avenue westbound gateway, only one side of the street has the red paint on it. The other side looks like it's open to mixed traffic.
Yeah, so oops, sorry, my notebook is getting in the way. So here at 3rd Avenue, and you'll see in other blocks, so because this is our gateway, certainly in this leg, in the eastbound direction, this is no longer part of the busway. This block between 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue or the exit Tunnel Street, whichever you'd like to consider, is no longer a part of the busway in the eastbound direction. So we wouldn't be adding paint here. Additionally, you'll notice that we haven't painted or we haven't proposed painting red where we have all vehicles required to continue straight. So for example, here at 3rd Avenue, even if the busway continued, all vehicles here at 3rd Avenue traveling in the eastbound direction are required to travel continue straight because of existing turn restrictions. To help avoid confusion for drivers, it's something that we're exploring so they don't think, oh no, am I supposed to be turning here because now I see red coming up in front of me, when we that turn is restricted. So for example, if we look at Lexington Avenue, which is probably better to look at, because of the existing left turn ban on 34th Street in the westbound direction, right? No vehicles are allowed to make the left turn from 34th Street onto Lexington Avenue. All vehicles have to continue straight. So even though, as you probably know, at 14th Street, we did paint, both legs of the intersection. It's just something that we're looking at, exploring to help reduce driver confusion.
Michael, do you have another question? That was it.
That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Anna, go ahead.
Would you mind explaining, I imagine there'll be questions around the east-west boundaries, and is it relating to the river crossings?
Yep, no problem. Let me pull up. So yes, so our proposal is between 3rd and 9th Avenue, and there are, a number of reasons why we are looking at these extents for our busway. Of course, there is the highest ridership around like the central portion of 34th Street, where we have the majority of like the subway and tunnel connections. It's also much more of a dense commercial corridor, a little bit less residential. A lot, between 3rd and 9th Avenue, we have a lot more like ground floor commercial that, it's useful. We've generally done our busways in like heavily commercial corridors. We also, very importantly, have the Queens Midtown Tunnel exit street right here between 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue on the east side where you are at. And on the west side, we have Dyer Avenue, which connects 34th Street with the Lincoln Tunnel. And so introducing the busway restrictions in conjunction with these existing tunnel entrances and exits just becomes a lot more complicated and impacts the access to those tunnels. So for those reasons, we're really looking at 3rd Avenue to 9th Avenue, just to ensure that we have a project that, not only works for buses and trucks and bus riders and pedestrians, but also all vehicles that we understand are using the streets of New York.
Thank you.
Let's go to Larry.
Thank you. I notice at Lexington Avenue, if you can pull that up at the northwest corner, the bus stop is missing.
At the northwest corner. That must have been an oversight. We're not proposing any changes to the location of bus stops as a part of this proposal, I should note.
Well, then it's missing now, and it really needs to be added back. Because in the spirit of saving safe steps, especially for seniors, and going up and down Murray Hill here, which is steep, it really is advantageous. So many seniors ride the bus on Lexington Avenue and want to transfer at 34th Street and having to walk half an avenue block to get to a bus stop. Never made sense on any of these SBS routes. And I hope you will revisit this in the future on 14th Street, for example, 5th Avenue, and so forth. But here, you definitely need to put the bus stop at Lexington Avenue and 34th Street northwest corner and be consistent with what I'm seeing elsewhere.
Right. Well, just real quick, I could say that the transfer, the stop is not at Lexington because the transfer to the 6 train is at Park Ave.
No, that's a totally separate issue, and it's quite a distance. We're talking about people who want to transfer from bus to bus and do so without having to hike a quarter of a mile.
It's the same.
And we're trying to save pedestrians and bus riders time. We're not trying to save bus drivers time, I hope.
Well, but at the same time, we try to keep the buses moving as quickly as possible. It's difficult on crosstown routes because there are transfers at almost every street.
Well, let me suggest that the committees object to that policy and ensure that we have safe crossings and convenient crossings for people who are transferring between buses And there was one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention. This is to the
All right,
east.
is this a question or a comment on the proposal?
It's a comment and a recommendation, and it
Can
goes
we,
a
can I,
little bit beyond
can I
the
save,
scope
can
of
we
the
save
bus lanes.
the
But it's
recommendation until we come back
all,
to discussing?
all I'm saying is you have mounted camera gantries. You should put one east of the entrance to the Queens Midtown Tunnel between First and Second Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Bronco.
Hey, thank you. Quick question. It's not just M34 and M34A, it's all the express buses coming in from Queens, one after the other. Do you have like a sense, maybe this was in your presentation, I missed it. How many people are on these buses on 34th Street? That's question one. And question two is, what are you going to use to oh, that's 28,000 just for those. Oh, and the express altogether.
Yeah, so that includes the express buses.
Okay, thank you. About 28,000 people. And what are you going to use to harden the daylighting there? Because sometimes if the daylighting is not hardened, right, it becomes illegal parking.
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, so for hardening the daylighting, we will be looking at things like vertical delineators, potentially things like granite blocks or planters, possibly quick curb, which is a product that it also has a vertical element. So that it does prevent anyone from parking in the space. We know that, especially on a corridor like this, where parking and loading space is at a premium, we want to keep the spaces that we've designated for daylighting clear. So whatever we use will have a vertical element to it, whether it be something as simple as a delineator or a little, or a granite block or a planter.
Thank you. I've got a question. We received a fair amount of feedback from the community with concerns that the private vehicles use 34th Street for traveling between the two tunnels. And I appreciate the slide where you mentioned the ongoing traffic study. I was hoping, I'm not sure if you have answers for that today, given that study is still pending. But could you talk at all to the existing volume or the expected impacts from vehicles making those trips today?
Sorry, when you ask, do you mean the expected changes like due to the busway on like side streets? Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, well, okay, so sorry, let me rephrase the question. Do you have any data to talk to how many vehicles are using 34th Street today to go directly across town between the two tunnels? And then the second question is how, if at all, do you expect traffic on the side streets to be impacted by people making that connection?
Gotcha. So I don't have any hard numbers that I can give you at this moment for the tunnel to tunnel connections. It's something that we are still working on gathering. Again, our traffic analysis does incorporate all of Manhattan between 12th Avenue and the FDR and 66th Street and 14th Street. And so it will take into consideration where those trips are happening, all the way across town, and where vehicles will be are expected to be diverted to if they are not traveling across 34th Street. So we know that is a primary concern, not only for you all, but also anyone who uses the roadways around Midtown or going north and south. And so it's something that we'll continue to look into, and we'll be able to report back when we have that information.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from the committee? You'll have a chance also once we can ask further questions later. Okay, so if no other questions from the committee, let's move on to public comments. So we've got a number of people in the room. I assume almost everybody here would like to speak. We've also got a lot of attendees on the Zoom. So the way I'm gonna, again, I'm gonna remind everybody that we're gonna limit comments to 1 minute. per person. We'll switch off between virtual participants and folks in person. Gabe, can I actually ask you to move over here so we can make space at the end of the table for folks to come up? They're here in person. If you're in here, if you're here in person, gonna ask you to have a seat at the table here, the mic and the camera, so that everybody attending virtually, if you could stay seated for the moment, please. We'll just go down in order of the tables if that works for everybody. And then, if you're attending virtually, we will work our way down the list. You will be given permission to unmute yourself, and you'll be able to make your comments via Zoom. Also, if you would like to speak on Zoom, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function. You can find it under the React button at the bottom of your Zoom window. And then there's a raise hand button there as well. And we'll go in order on Zoom. So let's start out here in person. And Brendan, you have the timer.
Yes, on my phone.
Wonderful, thank you. And you have 1 minute, go ahead.
Thank you. Quickly, my name is David Seifman. My wife and I lived on East 36th Street for more than 30 years. This plan is going to be a disaster. There is nowhere for the cars and other vehicles coming out of the Queens Midtown Tunnel to go, except 35th Street, 36th, 37th, 38th, 39th. We can see from our window every day, a lot of those blocks are virtually at 100% of capacity right now, many hours of the day. Unless you can make the traffic disappear, this is going to create chaos in Murray Hill. I just don't see any other way around it. And I think I admire your attempt to speed up the buses. We took the bus virtually every day. We'd like to see it speeded up, but we don't want to have gridlock, which is going to happen. There's just, unless you have a miracle cure for traffic, this is going to really hurt Murray Hill severely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to David Lawrence on Zoom. You now have permission to speak.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you to the board. Thank you, Rachel, for doing this. I would concur with the comments that were just made. Rachel, I would just ask, there are many distinguishable factors in our neighborhood where we're located from 14th Street. It's admirable in terms of the objectives, but the data, I think, will be very important. You have Herald Square, you have the LIRR, you have Moynihan Station. UN Week is a disaster in our neighborhood already. And you have Bellevue and NYU, et cetera. But the amount of traffic that we already attract is distinguishable. I walk around the city. I'm a resident of 40 plus years. I know the city and I know many people in the administration. I would ask that the sooner you can get us the data on the traffic, the better. We can all make an informed decision. Also, you know, I recognize there are 28,000 riders, but there are many more residents in this neighborhood who will be impacted here. And I would love to walk the streets with you during rush hour and other times. And what I would just suggest,
I'm sorry, but we've got so many people here. We have to move on. Thanks for your comments.
Last point is riding the 34th Street crosstown. I will tell you, we would, lesser of the harm, the Hippocratic Oath would be to get the traffic people who actually direct traffic at the intersections. There is gridlock constantly.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Next. Good, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jack Nierenberg, Vice President of Passengers United. First of all, there's already a bus lane on 34th Street. It's just not being enforced right now.
Right.
And I want to know, how much would this proposal cost taxpayers? Because if we already have a dedicated bus lane on 34th Street that's not being enforced, why not just, in order to speed up the buses, just enforce the bus lane properly? And I mean, as we've been hearing from other people here, this plan is gonna be devastating for them. And one more thing that I do want to mention is that this agency, the New York City Department of Transportation, oversaw the approval of an ableist bus plan in Queens. 1,800 bus stops eliminated. and no justification as to how people with disabilities are not going to be disenfranchised about this. I did quantitative studies, and I can confirm that this is going to be a disaster for these groups. So why is this project to have greater priority than actually meeting the needs of everyday transit riders and ensuring that the most vulnerable are not going to be screwed over?
Thank you very much. Let's move on to John Noble on the Zoom. You should now be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I am in favor of this busway. I've traveled on this bus corridor and it is slow. And I like the improvements that have been made on 14th Street. I think we all need better flow across town. This is a corridor where all the corridors across town are very slow, and we need to show the citizens of this city that we respect their cross-town transit, and we need a busway like this to do that. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
My name is Stacy. I have lived on the corner of 36th Street and Park Avenue for 37 years. Why do you think 14th Street and 34th are anything alike? They are not. We don't want this. As it is, when you put in the SBS, you didn't put connections on all the avenues on the east side, only on the west side. So yes, walking the hill or walking an extra block is a problem. And you're talking about putting physical impairments on the street with elderly or people who have trouble walking like I do is the stupidest thing. People will fall. I don't understand why you're even considering this. It's the last thing we need, and we certainly don't want it. We finally got congestion pricing. I don't have a circus outside my window for 15 hours a day.
Thank you. Sorry, we've got a lot of people to go. Thank you.
I don't know how else to get the point across.
Thank you very much.
That's it, me.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Michael and Ralph.
And I'm a force.
Brendan, if you could grant Michael and Rowe. Sorry.
There we go.
Thank you, Michael, Michelle, sorry. You have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you did. You said my name right. Thank you.
Sorry, no, I realized I got it right the first time.
It's okay. It's okay. So anyway, I'm expressing my concern and opposition over this proposed 34th Street busway tonight. As a longtime community resident who lives on one of the tunnel streets, 34th Street should not be compared to 14th Street. We have the Midtown Tunnel, and it's going to just congest all of our side streets. You asked, are you going to ask for a robust outreach to the community for such a big project? And are you including in that enforcement ticketing for motorized bikes? I don't see that at all, because we know that you guys are against licensed bicycles. I'm absolutely opposing this. I agree with the other people that have opposed it as well. This is not a place, Murray Hill is not a place for this kind of plan. You cannot compare 14th Street to 34th Street. I urge you not to pass this resolution. I wish the committee would not even have this discussion. And I'd also like to say, we'd like to preserve this neighborhood as we have over the years. This is a landmark area, and we would like to keep the aesthetics of.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we've got to move on.
Thank you very
Appreciate it. Okay, next person, thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie. Please stop making life harder for people. We are losing businesses. I've lost half my family and friends because life here it's too difficult to get around. I don't understand why this is a priority. Who asked for this? People who live on 34th Street cannot take a cab home. It's going to be impossible. They have to like circle around and around. Also, shoppers from out of town. When you have shopping bags, you're not going to get on the bus. You're not going to walk like whatever. It's really far. You're going to walk down that way. No, just stop making it harder for people. Business is important. Without them, we don't have the tax base. So please, just stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Samir on the Zoom. I just granted you the floor. Go ahead, please.
Great. All right, let me just start my timer so I don't go over a minute. All right, my name is Samir Lavingia. I'm coming from Manhattan Community Board 5, where we had this presentation earlier. Just wanted to say a few things. One, it's really impressive that we've moved from New York exceptionalism to block by block exceptionalism. We're not even at borough. We're now 20 blocks away. People think it's a totally different world, which I think is hilarious. We wrote a letter together with CB4 and CB6 a couple months ago asking for this busway, and clearly we're stronger together when we speak with one voice. As we asked for this, and frankly, that's the reason why it's here, is because, again, we all asked for this. I personally think it'd be a little bit embarrassing to renege so soon and really impact how seriously agencies take us. On our resolution, when we heard it more recently, we specifically said that we, in addition to supporting the plan, want to see more bus shelters, want to see that loading and unloading is easily done, and that we support extending the busway if community boards 4 and 6 want it. So
Thank
we
you.
fully support. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next person, want to speak in person, please? Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Sean. I think this is a smart idea to get people out of their cars. My question is, what happens to the bikes? 14th Street isn't really marked. So while it is nice to ride my bike down there, just wondering if DOT is going to address where bikes go, if they're excluded or included. And what other proposals like to address the community about overflow? Like, can we make side streets go opposite directions so you don't have those skirting around 34th Street and then discourage all commuters coming through Manhattan altogether?
Thanks. And yeah, I'll give DOT a chance to respond, please.
Yep, no problem. So similar to 14th Street and all of our busways, bikes are not prohibited. The busway is allowed, through traffic is allowed for buses and trucks only.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to Andrew Fine. You may now unmute yourself.
Thank you so much for taking my comment. Just want to say, this is yet another initiative that's instigated by the Department of Transportation and various interests that basically want to, disable cars. Nobody really wants this particular program. And anybody who has driven in a car or bus on West 31st Street, for instance, and I did that a couple months ago. It took 30 minutes to get from 3rd Avenue to 9th Avenue. I can only imagine what a complete disaster this will be for all car and livery and bus traffic. Aside from 34th Street, everything, the collateral damage will be immense. And I would ask you to please just give it up on this particular program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hello, my name is Pete Panuccio. I've lived at 36th Street and Park Avenue for the last 35 years. All right. This is completely insane. And the fact that, number one, there was nothing on the DOT website announcing this meeting, and the community board here should have done a better thing than just saying it's a traffic meeting. I found out about this through Transportation Alternatives. They're the ones that seem to be ordaining this. Now, take it further. Traffic, where does the traffic go? Coming out of the Midtown Tunnel, you have two major arteries connecting Long Island basically to the mainland of the United States. 35th Street is already a disaster, 37th Street. Those are the only two blocks. 33rd Street is cut by Park Avenue. So does anybody in DOT ever get off their ass and go out into the field and look and see what's going on? 35th Street right now between Park and Madison has a huge construction project that just started. Yeah. It's down to one lane. At the end of the block, you have a right turn signal. Then we add in the city bike racks everywhere. This is tunnel exit blocks with city bike racks.
Thank you.
You people should be ashamed of yourself. And if you're doing this without finishing the traffic impact studies first,
thank you very much.
Shame on DOT.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Daniel Sutton. You now have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, I support this proposal. I think it's very good. There's no gridlock on 14th Street after the busway was created. It just clears and reduces traffic on the street. And there are two bike lanes actually, one going west on 13th Street and one going east on 12th Street. So DOT could do this a similar thing on 34th Street to create space for bikes. But it makes life better for everybody. So I support this busway. Please do it.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Mark. Longtime resident of Murray Hill. And yeah, 34th Street is different than 14th Street in the sense that we don't have an L train to fall back on to compensate for the slow bus service. So that's why this is so important, because it will speed up the buses along 34th Street and make it easier for people that can't just walk from one end to the other like I used to do. With my kids, I can't take them across town because they can't make it the whole way. So now this will make the bus a viable alternative for them. The one constructive critique I have for this is just, I encourage the daylit areas to truly be hardened with planters or something hard, because as you see on areas like Fifth Ave, cars just use that as parking spaces and you can't see around the corner, which makes it extremely dangerous to cross, especially if you're with a child or if you're a little bit slower as an elderly or disabled person. So I'm all for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go to Dana. You may now unmute yourself. Dana, go ahead. Dana, we can't hear you. I'm gonna move on just in the interest of time, but we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead. Now we hear you. Go ahead.
Hey, hi, sorry. I just want to say that I 100% am in support of this busway. I actually live on a tunnel exit street. My work takes me to Queens, and I actually do use the express bus to come back and forth into Queens. And once you get onto 34th Street, the bus doesn't move. And I think it's really important for us to remember to be treating the city like a city and not serving the thousands of people who do take the buses who aren't here, to maybe speak. And that I think that it's also important to remember that everyone thinks the sky is falling before every proposal that happens. And I really 100% support this. Like the other person just said, we don't have a crosstown train, and it's impossible to take the bus now. If you want to get to Penn Station or Amtrak or anything like that with your luggage, you're forced to walk. So I think this is great, and I thank the DOT for doing it.
Suitcase on the bus.
Thank you very much. Next up in person.
Hello, my name is Alan. I live on 35th Street. I'm sort of baffled by some of the things I'm hearing tonight because it's not my experience. I have no problem commuting across town with luggage or whatever on the bus. In fact, a lot of people don't. However, I not pardon my ignorance for how these things kind of move forward. I understand there will be some kind of vote tonight by this committee. And I don't understand how that could happen with this ongoing traffic pattern study, exploring how that will impact the neighborhood and the quality of life and the streets and the people who live here. How can you vote on that and move it forward until all the data is in? I don't understand.
Thank you. All right, Mike McHale,
Yeah, hello everybody. So I live on 34th Street and 3rd Avenue, right next to the tunnel. And I want to say I'm part of 99% of the people who actually use this street as a destination, not just to drive through. I commute to the Upper West Side 3 times a week. As a presentation show, the bus moves at about 5 miles an hour, barely faster than walking. Between long waits, boarding, delays, and traffic, I often end up walking to Penn Station instead of taking the bus. That's why I fully support DOT's redesign of the corridor. With the new design, I have to say the bus is really going to fly, and that's important. And important, the busway matters because it's going to create faster, more reliable service, safer streets, a more livable street. 34th Street, we want to make it a place that people enjoy for residents and visitors. not a street people want to avoid. And contrary to some of my neighbors say, no, busway don't create gridlocks. And something very important, I understand 14th Street is not 34th Street. Every corridor is unique. But
Thank you. We got to move on with the amount of people, but thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Do we have somebody else? We'll come back when we get around. Do we have anybody else next in line in the back?
I rarely take the bus, but I just wanted to say, as a pedestrian, I was in middle school when the 14th Street busway was implemented. In middle school in Union Square, and I noticed the difference. It's a lot safer to cross the street. You feel a lot safer with the lower traffic. It's also more pleasant to be around, and I can guarantee you with 34th Street, there's more pedestrians walking around on the street going to the businesses there than there are cars congesting the street in the area. And I think the 34th Street busway would be very good for improving pedestrian safety and making the streets more pleasant for the pedestrians that use that space.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to Theodore on the Zoom. You now have the floor. Unmute yourself.
Oh, hello, everybody. Yeah, thank you for presenting on the plan. I'm generally in support. I think that, to respond to the comment that somebody had of saying, like, unless you have a magic solution to make traffic disappear, generally, from the planning perspective, reducing roadway capacity does kind of make traffic disappear, more or less. My main question is, what are the hours of this busway? I heard you mention that one of the lanes is 24/7, and that confused me a little bit because M34 bus service is not 24/7. I don't know if some of the express routes are 24/7, so I would appreciate if that could be addressed.
Thank you, and I'll give DOT a chance to respond.
Yeah, no problem. So we're still working on what the hours will be for this proposed busway. That 24/7 number shows up in the presentation in two different places. The first is the request from the joint request from the community boards 4, 5, and 6. And the second place that it shows up is the existing offset bus lanes. Oftentimes we retain 24/7 bus lanes, even if there is, a slight gap in service in a very late night period, because we know that reducing the traffic capacity of a street, narrowing it by only allowing one travel lane helps reduce things like speeding and helps increase safety on a corridor in a time like overnight where there might not be as many vehicles traveling on the roadway to, help maintain that the city speed limits.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president and founder of Passengers United. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So many people in the community, businesses and everyone has said that there are serious flaws and concerns with this plan. And if the MTA and DOT wants to address the real issue, which is the missing runs and unreliability of 34A and M34, because MTA does not fill the runs. In fact, we're seeing 50% less service now than we used to see. So let's fix that. That's the problem. Instead of diverting traffic to residential and other streets, which is going to cause major problems. So we do not support this plan in good faith. I'm sorry, because DOT and New York City Transit did it the wrong way. And there's too many special interest groups getting funded by Uber, Lyft, and all of that coming in and telling communities what to do. That is very degrading and disrespectful. And we at Passengers United, we have the utmost respect. We don't degrade people. We work with the community. That's what we do.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to Christopher. You now have the floor.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, my name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I support the 34 Avenue Busway project. I support the project because we need to really mitigate the traffic in that area. It's like a race car way overnight. If you ever drive on 34th Street, it's like a racetrack, especially on 7th Avenue. I know that this is not the district, but it's like a racetrack on 7th Avenue, and I believe that this busway will, this new plan by the DOT will work. Now, one more thing I want to say is that we need to stop criminalizing deliveristas, stop criminalizing cyclists, for what they do on the street. I understand that they some of them blow red lights, but that's
We're gonna address that that later if you want to save the comment for that.
I'm sorry, can I get back? I'll get back on top with the busway. Okay, so I support the busway. I support the project. I believe that this Community Board 6 should approve this busway because it will help mitigate. It will help mitigate the traffic throughout, especially going toward Hudson Yards. So and especially going towards the Hudson Yards and going towards the Queens Midtown Tunnel. So I thank you so much. Like I said, I'm sorry. I think about that, and no more criminalization of delivery centers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. And if you want to stick around, at the end of our agenda is the criminalization of cyclists. If you want to just comment on that then as well. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Irene. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, did you want to speak again? I'm sorry.
Hi, I am a resident of 34th Street. I am on 34th Street. I do want to correct you to whoever implied that East 34th Street is commercial. It is very residential. There are multiple high-rise apartment buildings that are located on 34th Street. It is not very commercial. I think this is not the best idea, even though it could theoretically speed up the buses on 34th Street. Is going to cause chaos on 35th, 36th, 37th, 38th, etc., going between the two east-west tunnels. Additionally, I'm curious how many residents were actually surveyed about this. I didn't know about this meeting until very recently. I didn't know about this plan until very recently. And I would want to get more information about actual residents, people who live on 34th Street, to be involved in this conversation. And people who live on 34th Street, the GPS data that was used will not be putting in their addresses as destinations because we know where we live, we know how to get there, and that's incorrect. And then people who use taxis, there's a hospital on 34th Street.
We got to move on time. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Go ahead, please.
Kathy Legg, 34th Street is not 14th Street. We have a tunnel on either side unless those tunnels are closed to cars. This is going to be a disaster. There's no question. Also, I know that you marked 3rd Avenue and 9th Avenue because you have the tunnel entrances on either side, but there's not going to be any cars going into them because they won't be able to get there. So ironically, you now provided this, but there aren't any vehicles. The other thing is, if you're doing a traffic survey, the summer is not the right time. It's probably the lowest volume of traffic. Even then, you'll see quite a lot, but I think that should be postponed to after Labor Day. Okay.
Can I just jump in for 1
Yeah,
second?
I was going to ask you to comment.
Yeah, so even our traffic work is ongoing. The data that we're using, it doesn't include summer data. So as a part of our traffic count calendar, it eliminates times like summer, school breaks, major holidays, things like UN week. No traffic counts are taken during that time. The data that we're using was primarily collected in the fall.
Some of the holidays are the worst traffic.
Yeah, it's just that it's irregular.
Congestion or after congestion?
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to Heather. You now have the floor.
Hello, yes, I just also am a resident on 37th Street at the tunnel and wanted to express my support for this proposal fully. I ride the bus regularly. I take my baby on the bus and the stroller. No other good way to get around. Like others said, we don't have a crosstown subway, so this bus is really essential. There should be no cars on 34th Street, period. The data that was shared is really impressive. It would be great to also have numbers to compare how many people in cars are using the street to compare against that 28,000 bus riders now. And think about how the buses could even be scaled up. It's amazing that only 1% of people are actually accessing 34th Street. I mean, this is like shocking. Cars should not be using Manhattan as a highway to go between Queens and New Jersey. And I would say, like congestion pricing, this will change behavior. This will reduce traffic, and we should just calm down and give it a try. So thank you for your proposal to the DOT and community board. Please show your support. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we have anybody else? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody in the room that wanted to speak. No, okay. All right, so let's move on. Richard, you now have the floor.
Yeah, hi, my name is Richard Harden.
I guess I'm just a little bit disheartened that the community board would or it seems to have expressed historical support for a draft proposal that doesn't include data that must be fundamental to whether the proposal is even worthwhile. Because as a resident of 35th Street, I completely disagree with the person who just spoke from 37th Street. This will make my block horrific. And so without that traffic data, why are we already leaning in on this proposal instead of waiting to see what the community that you gentlemen represent, how that community will be impacted? I don't understand that at all.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Gretchen.
Hello. I just wanted to state that I'm in support of this project, but I'd like to put an emphasis on hardened daylighting and enforcement, particularly the enforcement of truck routes. Due to the proliferation of wayfinding apps, trucks are ubiquitous on all of these aforementioned side streets, where through truck traffic is actually not permitted. So theoretically, if the trucks are permitted on the busway, that would be the faster route, thus pulling the trucks, who are often the biggest offenders of the gridlock causing blockages, off of those side streets. But in the interim, I would beg the DOT to please enforce the trucks illegally using side streets.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Chris. You now have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that I am a resident on 35th Street and 5th Avenue. And let me tell you that the reason when I go to Equinox at the Hudson Yards that we don't take the bus is because it is so slow that we can walk faster than it. And I think with having so many cars there trying to drive through, it makes the street very dangerous for pedestrians and for my dogs, which are very old dogs and they walk slow and you got cars pulling up. So I just want to support the DOT here in their attempt to make the buses faster and improve the street safety within the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Ami.
Hi, I think this is the dumbest thing you could ever do. I live on 34th and 3rd. I parked my car in the garage. It's absurd. We're not 14th Street. 14th Street is all commercial and Murray Hill is all residential. You want to do it 5th Avenue down, but don't block off Lexington and 3rd Avenue. It's the dumbest fucking thing you could do. And how do people move in and move out? We have 300 residents who live in this building and we need to have access.
Thank you. Let's move on to Anne.
That was good. What'd you think of that?
Anne, you could now unmute yourself, please. Anne, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, yes.
So I've lived on 34th and Park for 35 years, and every decade, the DOT has shut down one lane of traffic. There used to be 4 lanes. You could make a left turn, you could go straight. Things were moving quickly. It was great. Now we have 1 lane. Now you want to shut down the 1 lane and make no lanes. It's crazy, literally crazy. We gotta stop this madness against cars. Streets are for cars, not pools, not greenways, not circuses. Streets are for cars. Let's keep it the way it is or roll it back.
Thank you. Moving on to Felix, you have the floor.
Hi, all. Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. I'm on the corridor, along the corridor most every day. I work on 34th Street at One Penn Plaza. So I am a regular walker, biker, and bus user. Recently, I came down with a running injury, and so actually for the first time, I did take the 34th Street bus corridor, and I learned firsthand how slow and unreliable the bus is. Most days when I'm full strength, I can walk faster. All that said, I strongly support this proposal and strongly urge the community board to prioritize the majority of users along the corridor who are the people walking, biking, or taking the bus, and urge the community board to vote in favor of this, and again, prioritize the movement of people. Streets are for people, not for cars. Thank you so much.
Felix, thank you very much. Okay, we have addressed all of the folks who wanted to make comments. So I will now open it back up to committee discussion. If there's any points anybody wants to raise or additional questions. Actually, first let's start if there's any additional questions, and then we'll go back if there's any general feedback or motions. Okay.
I have a question for Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Can you talk more about surveying the business owners on 34th Street? Did the majority lean a certain way?
Hello. Okay, so our street ambassador group went into as I mentioned earlier, 112 businesses, so nearly all of the businesses between 2nd Avenue and 9th Avenue on 34th Street. Their surveys weren't about whether support or lack thereof of a proposal. Those surveys are really about understanding the needs of the businesses as they relate to the roadway, things like loading space, delivery times, everything like that. And so that data we use to help understand how can we improve how the roadway works to help the businesses, help their vehicles move throughout the corridor and surrounding areas where they can pull over to load and to help facilitate those important things like deliveries and customer access for them.
Okay, thanks.
Let's go to Larry. Questions specifically, Larry? If more discussion, we'll come back, please. Larry. All right, move on to Maya. Larry, you're still on mute. We'll come back.
I'm no longer on mute.
Go ahead.
I had an additional comment based on what I heard here relating to 34th Street in Lexington, that this is really an accessibility issue, and this is a small ask to restore a bus stop that was originally there, that was taken out primarily to save money to put in an SBS station. But the major thrust of my comment here is that I fully support this proposal because I live and use the 14th Street bus corridor, and I remember the
Larry. We'll come back to.
Okay, I'm just saying that that what this does is the opposite of induced demand. It reduces demand by reducing capacity.
Thanks, Larry. Go ahead, Michael.
Actually, I wanted to know about a few things. So I support the 34th Street busway proposal. I've seen the slow speeds on the M34, and I think it'd be great to have faster speeds, especially along 34th Street. But I want to ask about implementing transit signal priority and making sure that might have gathered at the meeting that the daylighting is designed to be fully accessible and designed to have tactile markers, the sort of blocks that indicate space to visually impaired and to other people who need it, that it's there and provide tactile feedback. And I'd also like to know if there's a plan to potentially take the daylighting and make it permanent and what time period or be until it's done in concrete.
Thank you. So the first question was on bus signal priority. Is that
yeah, the signal priority and making the daylighting more accessible and tactile.
Yeah, so currently, as a part of this proposal, we are looking at updating signal timing. There is some potential for some bus-only signals or transit signal priority, especially at the gateways. But we don't have anything, set in stone yet that we can, share. And then for the daylighting, yes, of course, everything that any daylighting that we do put in will be fully accessible. And thank you so much for your comment about, making sure that, paths are clear and accessible, especially for those visually impaired.
Thank you. And the last question was when will they become permanent, or what was the, Michael, exactly was that?
Yeah, I want to know more about the timeline when they will be made like out of concrete, like.
Yeah, so currently this is what we call a street improvement project. So the work is done with in-house with operational materials because of things like drainage. That often means we cannot do things like curb extensions in-house. Right now, we don't have any timeline or any capital project in the pipeline for 34th Street, but if we do implement and we see a lot of success, that's definitely something that we can look into.
Thank you. And I see a number of hands in the room and from the public on Zoom. Unfortunately, given the time constraints, we're not going to have time for additional comments or questions on this. We're just going to move forward with the committee discussion at this time on this agenda item. And we're going to go over to Maya on Zoom. Go ahead.
Hello. I think it was very insightful to hear from everyone. I live in 50th Street, and so don't live in the 30s. And so it was nice to hear from the public. So I thank them for coming. But I do want to emphasize for our committee I think the busway is a good idea. And what we talked about in our budget needs is that we're prioritizing accessibility, and this really does grant that to a lot of people. And I do want to highlight that cars are exclusive and streets are for people and for buses, and that gives that accessibility to people. Not everyone has a car. A lot of people can't afford a car. And I think the DOT, what they're trying to do here is create a collective plan. Like we have congestion pricing, and that created a behavior change in the number of cars that are entering into Manhattan. And also, as someone mentioned before, to not have Manhattan act as a highway, we have a lot of public transportation with the LIRR and New Jersey Transit to have people move through the island of Manhattan without having to clog all of our streets. And we don't need, like, if you take away 34th Street and turn it into a busway, you will see behavior change in how people are using their cars. And I also understand that 14th Street and 34th Street are very different. I work around 14th Street, and it is a very safe place, as other people mentioned. I do understand that the commercial density is different, but I also want to highlight that I understand a lot of you have lived here for 30 years, 35 years. If you look 30 or 35 years before you moved to that area, it was very different. Before cars were even invented, like the city is constantly changing, and we need to constantly change to meet our city's needs.
Those comments are unacceptable.
Well, so was that.
Well,
It's an insult.
thank you. Thanks, Maya. Jerry, go ahead. And just a reminder, first of all, please keep the commentary to yourselves. And second of all, we're just doing questions. We're going to come back to general comments on the proposal.
Yeah, again, thank everybody for bringing their opinions in their person. For Rachel and Colleen, I wanted to circle back to this earlier, some discussion from both the board and members of the community about accessibility. Just the point that often people who don't have mobility or low sight are unaware that what can be designed as being helpful to the general population can be an impediment. So, for example, the sheds and the bike lanes made it very difficult for people who were in chairs. And I know that daylighting, we like to think it's great for traffic calming and so forth. I'm hoping that you are working with members of the disability community, leaders like Susan Shear, who created Accessoride, to get their sense of whether or not any of these things can have unintended consequences. Thank you.
Was there a question?
No, I mean, I'd love to hear back from if that's the case, from either Rachel or Colleen, but otherwise just work with the disability.
Yeah, I will say that the daylighting and pedestrian spaces that we're proposing are really in line with our current DOT standards. So very much taking into account, different needs. I will also mention that daylighting is particularly important for those in wheelchairs and people who are young children or people who are shorter, because those are the people that are most difficult to view behind something like a car. So they're the most at risk if a turning vehicle doesn't have the sight line to see, a 6-foot tall person standing at the corner.
Thank you. Let's go to B.
Thanks. I was going to actually follow up on a question that was just asked, and that dealt with when you reached out, Rachel, to the residents along this corridor. You have residents, we talked about the disabled, we talked about seniors. Were there discussions specifically on what they were looking for, what their concerns were, as opposed to just the mere statistic?
Yeah. So as a part of our community outreach, we did pedestrian intercept surveys. So that was our street ambassador teams out on the street talking to people as they walked through the corridor. They weren't specifically targeting any groups. It was really just people who happened to be out those multiple days that they were out along the corridor. Now, of course, this is an ongoing community outreach process. We presented existing conditions earlier this year. We're coming to you all now, and we expect to present a final proposal later in this year. So if you do have, specific concerns, or if there are groups that you think that we should be talking to that we haven't yet, please let us know. You can always contact the MBCO or Colleen, the Manhattan Borough Commissioner's Office, or Colleen, and they will let us know any of those, specific concerns, whether it's like a specific intersection that you think needs another look in terms of things like safety or whatnot.
Can I make a quick comment?
No, I'm sorry, we've already done public comment. Okay, so we'll now move on to discussion amongst the committee. Again, we have a big agenda. We're only on the first item. So if you have comments, I would appreciate if we could please keep this very short. Does anyone on the committee wish to make any comments or statements?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
the
motions?
whole reason for the 14th Street busway was because the L train was gonna shut down. And 34th Street, we don't even have an L train. There's no public transit to get across town. The bus goes 3 miles an hour. 85% of the people that live in this district do not have a car. So we're a very transit dependent population. So I think it's a very exciting proposal. I support it.
Thank you. David?
I think the studies are indicate like a tiny reduction in the number of cars is at least a massive decrease in the quantity of traffic. Even a little bit of mode shift will lead to a big decrease in traffic. I think people generally assume this relationship is linear, and it is not. A few less cars equals a lot less traffic, and I think that's important to remember. That's why these displacement spillover effects rarely to never materialize. Thank you.
I have a comment. I mentioned before, we received a lot of feedback from the community about concerns with people traveling between the tunnels. I did some investigation into this in trying to address those concerns. And I plugged into Google Maps directions from various different points in New Jersey to Long Island City. And in every single case in which I did that, the Google Maps recommendation was to take either 36th Street or 37th Street. So the directions apps today are already directing traffic not to take 34th Street. And I presume that that's because 34th Street is extremely congested and slow, and cars do not move at a reasonable speed across it. So I don't think that the concerns that by shutting 34th Street down is that there's going to be increased traffic on those side streets. The traffic getting across town is already using those side streets because 34th Street is completely unmanageable. So I don't see any reason to believe that there would be an exacerbation of the problem by closing down 34th Street to additional traffic. Furthermore, I will add that once you bring in points that are north and south of the tunnel, there starts to be other routes that make more sense, including going on the FDR around the southern tip of Manhattan, as well as going from the GW across and taking the FDR. Those are my thoughts.
Just add something quick, just since a lot of people came to our meeting tonight, I'll just share my intended vote is in favor of this, simply because We need roads that support buses and allow people to get places efficiently and quickly. And 90% of our streets are clogged and congested with cars. And we have one street, maybe two, in Manhattan that's dedicated solely to buses. So I'm excited to have another street that's dedicated to public transportation.
How long have you all known?
I'm sorry,
about this, that
I'm sorry, we gave.
No,
you know,
because if you're supposed to.
We're gonna have to ask you to leave if you're not gonna be able to maintain order.
You obviously have
Thank you.
discussed
Okay.
it.
Anybody else
We
have
didn't get
comments?
any advice.
Any other comments from the committee?
Representing us.
Correct?
Based on the conversations and the public comment, it was about split about even for and against. And based on the conversations,
We're conducting a meeting here. If you'd like to speak, please take it out into the hallway.
I propose a motion to adopt resolution in favor of the 34th Street busway.
All right, we have a resolution that was distributed ahead of time. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at that. Brendan, if you can pull it up onto the screen.
Just give me a moment.
Thank you. I was hoping, given the motion, we could work through any changes to the copy on the resolution. Or we could, does anybody have any comments or requests for changes to the motion that, the resolution that was distributed?
I looked at this earlier and I remember the presentation we received a few months ago from DOT, and I think maybe it's important to like add that somewhere in there because that seems to be an issue. So it's one thing to not be aware that these conversations are happening. It's something else to accuse people of not having, especially in public.
Can I give you the computer and while we go on to additional questions, ask you to propose an amendment? Other thoughts while we're working on that? B, go ahead.
So in listening to the comments and some of the statistics, I have a suggestion about the resolution when it says next to the last, therefore be it resolved, that community board, it has strongly supports the implementation of 34th Street. I would modify that right now, that would say supports the implementation of this pending the final statistics. I think the statistics are very important. People are emphasizing that, and we won't see them in September, until September. But I support the resolution. I just want to see the final statistics. So any comments about making that a little more provisional?
I am opposed to that amendment. I think what we saw on 14th Street, that traffic, we all the same concerns were raised when 14th Street busway was proposed. That it was going to be a traffic nightmare. It was all the traffic was going to go to the surrounding streets, and that just simply never materialized. And I don't think there's any reason to believe that that's going to be any different here. I think the concerns raised about the tunnels being the reason why this is going to be different. I think from the research that I did with the recommended routes, that I don't believe traffic is taking 34th Street today, and I don't really see any other reason why 14th Street would yield different, 34th Street would yield different results from 14th Street. So I don't think we need to wait for that study to be
I
completed.
would say even if traffic increases on those other streets. I don't know. I mean, like, so there's traffic on the other streets. I want a busway that transports people quickly across 34th Street. There will be externalities.
She doesn't have access to edit.
Okay, hold on. Welcome back to you.
Well, InfoEd doesn't have access to edit.
Sorry, hold on, one second. Any other thoughts on that amendment?
I'm opposed to, because it's just kind of delaying it, and this is a really important project. I live in Murray Hill, right off 34th Street, so I appreciate their concerns. I certainly don't want more cars in my neighborhood. Nobody does, but the point is for the busways for people to get out of their cars and get on the bus, because nobody wants to be inundated with traffic. So anyway, I'd be opposed to that because I think it delays it.
I don't support the amendment, and I think very telling was that 1% statistic in terms of people who are using the roadway to go within the roadway, and I think that actually aligns with what you experience when you're there. It seems to be people cutting through to other parts of Manhattan primarily.
Thanks. Larry? Did you have something on the amendment?
I
Otherwise,
want, I want to reiterate my support in terms of the thrust of getting
Wait, hold
this.
on, Larry. I want to keep us on topic on the amendment, and then
I want to get it done quickly. This particular amendment would delay it.
Thank you. B, do you want us to take a vote on the
Yeah,
amendment?
let me just say, I understand, I am not attempting to delay it because I am supporting it. But I think we have to really recognize the fact that we don't have all the data. So I think it must have been interpreted differently that I was trying to delay it. I just want to recognize the fact that we're working not with final data. Thank you.
I understand that, yes.
Doesn't sound like we have support for the amendment, without doing a formal vote. Did we have a second for the amendment? I do not see one. Okay, Larry, I'll go back to you because you wanted to raise something else.
Yes, and I really don't want to delay this in any way, Jason. But when we supported the original 34th Street SBS project, there was a promise made to consider this Lexington Avenue intersection, and Bob Cohn and I both very strongly pointed out this accessibility problem. And it's not been corrected in 10 years or so. And if there's some way that we can just shoehorn in that we ask for a correction of this omission on this go-round, I'd be happy.
So are you proposing an amendment to include that?
Yeah, just a small amendment where we have the therefore be it resolved. And in the very end of it, it says inclusive of pedestrian safety and accessibility enhancements. And we could put in parentheses, including the restoration of the bus stop at the northwest corner of 34th Street and Lexington Avenue.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, comments on that? Anybody wish to raise? Michael?
I am in favor of restoring the bus stop.
Thank you. Any other comments? Oh, Maya, go ahead, please. Yeah.
I am in favor of restoring the bus stop, and I like the safety and accessibility enhancements. I just wonder if we specifically mention this bus stop, are we then excluding other accessibility?
The legal language would be including but not limited to.
I think Maya makes a good point, though. I'm not sure in the whole corridor. I think when the SBS route was implemented, there was a few spots maybe that were removed.
Yeah, but some of them came back here. This one didn't.
Okay.
This is the only one that seems to be left out.
Larry, I think that a lot of people are in agreement with you, but I do feel like this would be better as a separate issue.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, I want to see this in the I want to see this in the final plan. That's the only reason to emphasize it today.
So
I may overlook it.
I'm opposed to the amendment because I think we should focus this resolution on the 34th Street busway. I'm not opposed to exploring a separate resolution to discuss adding back a bus stop. But first of all, I think we're complicating an already long meeting and complicated discussion about the busway. And I think in the interest of moving forward expeditiously, it'd be better to take that off, not include that in this change, and to focus on that in a future agenda item and a future topic.
Jason, that was the promise before. I'm sympathetic, but I really don't want to wait another 10 years to have it taken.
I understand, but I was not the chair then, so I do not take responsibility. Brendan, go ahead.
So just to be clear, is the language here what we want, or should it be changed back to what it was previously?
I move it. I move it.
I would advocate to take out the parentheses, but I would say leave in safety and accessibility enhancements.
Okay, just can I make a quick comment? If we're talking about it, like, I don't see, at least for me, I take the 34th Street bus every day, having an extra stop. I don't know what enhancements it gives to people. If you live right in the middle of the stop.
It's walking up a hill,
Still
walking up a
still
hill.
walk either way, which many places in the city on a half avenue, you have that. So if we're looking to speed up bus times, I'd rather not have another stop. I mean, you can make the same argument like on long blocks that we should need 2 stops in between. Like, it's distance.
Yeah,
People have to walk to the bus stops.
I second that as well, and though I'm open to having a discussion on this, and I think the better time to have a discussion on this would be after the busway is potentially implemented, where we've already seen speed improvements, and we can talk about it. It makes sense to potentially add this in.
It's such a small enhancement, just putting up a sign.
Well, no, Larry, it would be
Because
adding a bus stop.
because they're removing all of the off bus ticketing booths, I mean machines, and if you look up and
Larry,
down,
Larry, thank
if
you,
you look at the
Larry.
proposal, this
Do we
is
have a
the only
second? Do
place
we have
they've
a
left
second?
out. There's
Do we have
nothing in
a-
the eastbound proposal that they took out. Here they took it out in the westbound side. Why?
Larry, you're heard. Thank you. B, let's go to you, B.
So I support what you said, to take it up as a separate issue. I think we're dealing with the corridor. Let's deal with what is presented and make the commitment to deal with a separate resolution on this area.
Thanks, B. Michael.
I think we should include it in the resolution. I think we should have the restoration of the bus stop on Third Avenue as part of it.
Bus stop on Third Avenue?
Uh,
Do we have a bus stop on?
Yeah.
Third and 34th does have.
yeah, but I mean, the bus stop Larry's talking about.
Lexington.
Lexington. Okay, got it. Okay, do we have a second to Larry's motion to amend? Seeing no second. You want a second? Okay,
Second.
Michael seconds, okay. Let's take a vote on the amendment. I don't think we need to do a formal roll call. Can we do a show of hands?
You can do a show of hands.
If you are in favor of the amendment to add the inclusion of stop at 34th Street, as amended by Larry, for the addition to ask MTA to add a stop for 34th Street onto this resolution. If you are in support of that amendment, please raise your hand. All right.
1, 2.
1, 2, and opposed? Raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And do we have any abstentions? All right, the motion fails. We will move forward. Any other? Oh, yes. Miriam has taken the liberty of writing out the additional whereas.
I'm trying to find a date. The date of that meeting. Unless, the Rachel's still there, or Colleen, unless they know the date when that was present, the DOT toolkit was presented.
I can get that to you in a second.
Great, thank you. Can we slide it in at the end then, while we're pulling that up, Brendan?
But
I'll read you.
That was February 3rd.
Thanks, Rachel.
okay, so where is this?
At the end of the whereases, before the last whereas.
Before
Before therefore be resolved.
Okay,
As
so
a new whereas.
I think we should be higher up, just because that happened before anything else.
Okay, we'll move it. That's fine. Let me just,
the language.
yeah, whereas DOT presented on their toolkit of options on February 3, 2025, which included a possible busway. So yeah, can you, let's look at moving it up. Do you have any? Yeah,
So, okay. Maybe before, maybe after the 20,000 daily bus passengers, because then we transition to.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Unless someone else has a.
No.
Any comments on the amendment?
No.
No. Comments, no. Do we have a second? Second, all right. Does anybody oppose this amendment? All right, seeing no opposition, we will adopt the amendment. Motion. Second. Yes. Okay, any other changes that we would like to see? Or other general statements before we move on to a vote on this resolution? Michael?
How about this amendment? Including in the busway proposal. Bus only signals will be studied in the area to help speed up bus service and help to get fast traffic lights for the bus.
So that would be on the, yeah, try to think where to put that in. Let's say, Brenda, if you could scroll down for me.
Scroll down to.
Just slightly, keep going. What's this? Okay, above the improvements in public transit will enhance the retail. Something, let's say, whereas. DOT expects to explore additional signal priority for buses on the corridor. That might not be the best spot for it now that I put it there.
Could we add a part about using bus only signals to that one?
Sure, and bus additional signal priority and bus only signals. We can figure out where it goes after. Any comments on the amendment?
Yeah, I'm a little confused by it.
Go ahead.
Is it not a busway? So why will we study bus only signals and signal
So-
priority?
It's not entire, we do still have the stretch before the busway.
So that's where we would be studying it.
That might be, to your point, worth clarifying. Michael, would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
For the
So-
full length.
How should it be worded?
Maybe sit for the buses on the full length of the street or something.
Yeah, so 34th Street, like east of 3rd Avenue and west of.
Right.
I might suggest we limit the comment to east of 3rd Avenue, just because that's within
right.
our district. We can comment on the other, but it'd be
Yeah,
better if we
yeah.
would.
That's fine.
Prioritization continue beyond 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, beyond 3rd Avenue, right there where you have it.
So how would it be
Or
worded again?
east of 3rd Avenue. Right from, sorry, bus only signals. East of 3rd Avenue.
For buses on the corridor, east of 3rd Avenue?
Yeah, that's perfect. Does that work, man?
Yes, and also west of 9th Avenue.
We could include that, but I would prefer if we didn't, because that's outside of our district.
Okay, so just east of 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Anybody opposed? All right, seeing no opposition, we will adopt the amendment.
Motion to vote.
You call the question?
Call the question.
Do we have a second? All right, let's move on to a vote. By roll call, Brendan will conduct the roll call.
Okay, when I call your name, please say whether you're in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. Michael Cohen,
In favor.
Dee Dismond,
In favor.
Maya Donahue,
In favor.
Brock Friedman,
In favor.
Jason
In
Franowitz,
favor.
Eric Goldberg,
In favor.
Anna Picior,
In favor?
Miriam Rowe,
Favor.
Larry Shire,
In favor.
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
and Jerry Weinstein.
In favor.
With all 11 committee members in favor, this resolution passes the committee.
All right, great. Thank you very much for everybody's input. We have still a very full agenda to continue with. We will now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the bus lanes on Madison Avenue.
Great. Thank you so much, Community Board 6. My colleague, Lee, will give that presentation, and I believe joining him as well will be the MTA. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for setting up this meeting, Colleen and CB6. Please give me one moment while I share my screen. Let's see here. Share screen. Is everyone able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you again. As Colleen said, my name is Bailey Lai. I am a project manager at the New York City Department of Transportation, specifically in transit development. I have on the line with me my colleagues at DOT, as well as Jamie Cho at the MTA, and our respective MTA colleagues as well. And tonight, we will be presenting to you the bus improvement projects that we are proposing on Madison Avenue between 23rd Street, East 23rd Street to East 42nd Street. So in our agenda, we'll first go through the background and existing conditions of Madison Avenue, why we are considering bus improvements in the first place, followed by our proposal for bus lanes on the corridor, and summarize our project and next steps. So first off, why are we looking at bus priority on Madison Avenue? To reiterate, we are specifically looking at East 23rd to East 42nd Street. And the reason being for this is because between East 42nd to East 60th Street, there have already been double bus lanes on Madison Avenue since 1981, as you can see on the right of the screen. The study, back then it was just a pilot with New York City DOT, and the pilot was so successful that back in the day, in the 1980s, this picture is actually from a US DOT study a few years after the 1981 pilot that eventually became permanent. Currently, there are over 92,000 daily bus riders collectively on the 34 bus routes that traverse through this portion of Madison Avenue. And that consists of the local buses for M1, M2, M3, M4, and Q32, as well as 29 different express bus routes from all other boroughs across New York City. And based on our data, we see that buses are moving people more efficiently on Madison Avenue itself. The majority of roadway users during the peak hours of AM and PM are riding on the buses, despite the fact that buses take up less than a quarter of the roadway space. Despite all of this, bus speeds on the existing corridor between 23rd to 42nd are as low as 4.5 miles per hour compared to the Manhattan average of 6.2 and the New York City average of 8.1. To give a broader overview of our project in context of Midtown and the city as a whole, back in 2020, the New York City Council passed the streets plan for DOT to implement, which included transit improvements such as Madison Avenue highlighted here. The transit goals of the streets plan are to, one, increase sustainable travel modes by reconfiguring streets, two, to expand access to job opportunities, such as those on Madison Avenue and across Midtown, and three, allow all New Yorkers to get around in multiple ways without encountering existing barriers to travel. And just to point out that this map is from the 2023 plan update, where Madison Ave was highlighted as one of the potential upcoming bus priority corridors. So moving back onto the corridor itself. I just wanted to reiterate that the project scope is between 23rd Street, down where Madison Square Park is, up to 42nd Street. I understand for CB6 specifically, the corridor would be touching, I believe, from 34th to 40th Street. So right on the edge of CB6. Most of this project is actually running through CB5, but we want to obviously give the feedback and collect input from your community board as well. And with that being said, just also want to re-highlight again that there are existing bus lanes north of 42nd and Grand Central through to 60th Street. And there's also a southbound direction existing bus lanes on 5th Ave, which work in tandem with Madison Ave. Again, also from Central Park and 60th Street, all the way down to 34th Street. And these are just imagery to show you the existing conditions of the double bus lanes at their respective corridors on 5th Ave and Madison Avenue. And based on the existing double bus lane evaluation data that we have from the MTA, back in 2018, 5th Avenue double bus lanes were implemented. So we have much more recent data as opposed to the Madison Avenue existing bus lanes. And that data from that period between 2017 and 2019 shows that before and after speeds on local routes increased 6 to 12%, and speeds on express bus routes increased 11 to 20%. So quite substantial bus speed improvements in the much more recent implementation of the 5th Ave bus lanes. So with that being said, I'll pass the mic over to Jamie to talk about bus routes and bus speeds particular to our portion of Madison Avenue.
Great. Thank you, Bailey. Hi, my name is Jamie Cho, and I'm a bus service planner with MTA New York City Transit. As Bailey mentioned earlier, 34 bus routes travel within the Madison Avenue study area, with 5 local routes and 29 express routes. Most of these express routes travel via the entire segment, with the local routes beginning travel on Madison Avenue at either 25th Street or 32nd Street. On an average weekday, over 1,000 buses travel within the study area, with 8,000 daily aggregated boardings and alights at the bus stops there. If we go on to the next slide. Overall, local bus speeds are slow all day in the study area. These maps here show the average bus speeds of both the local and express routes on weekdays during the AM peak, midday, and PM peak. As shown, local buses are under 6 miles per hour throughout the day, while express buses are under 9. During the midday and PM peak, bus speeds are especially slow, with local speeds dipping down to 4.5 miles per hour between 27th Street and 33rd Street in the midday, and express speeds down to 5.2 between 33rd Street and 42nd during the PM peak. Back to you, Bailey.
Thank you, Jamie. So to move back onto the corridor itself, this is a existing cross section of Madison Avenue south of 42nd Street. I do want to highlight that north of 42nd Street, it is slightly different, not just with the existing double bus lanes, but also with an extra set of travel lanes. But south of 42nd, there are existing curbside parking and rush hour travel lanes on the west curb or the left curb, depending on the block that you're at. Particularly between 34th to 36th Street, there's no standing anytime. And then from 37th to 42nd Street, there's no standing in the PM peak hours of 1 to 7 p.m. And this particular point actually becomes important in our proposal later on. And as you can see in the center, there are 2 existing travel lanes on the east side, or east curb rather, and right side of the roadway. There are mostly continuous bus stops and layovers along the east curb. As part of our study in collaboration with MTA, here at DOT, we also collected general traffic volumes and speeds, as well as did a preliminary traffic analysis of the entire extent of the corridor. As you can see on these graphs here, traffic volumes tend to be lower on the southern end of Madison Avenue, which, if you think about it, makes quite a bit of a logical sense given that Madison Avenue actually begins at 23rd Street. Unlike many other north-south avenues, Madison Avenue doesn't continue south of 23rd. So much of traffic is actually coming in from the cross streets at the southern end. The highest amount of traffic north is at actually north of 42nd Street around Grand Central Terminal. In this graph itself, I don't provide that, but we can go to the appendix if you do need to provide, if you need to see the actual north of 42nd data. And I just want to highlight that specifically because of the existing double bus lanes, even though they are north of 42nd, where there are more travel lanes, there is actually much higher vehicle volumes. So despite the higher vehicle volumes north of 42nd, which are about 1,000 and above, there's still traffic moving smoothly across those existing double bus lanes. All of this to say that based on our preliminary traffic analysis, it suggests that current volumes on Madison Avenue, south of 42nd Street are viable with the addition of bus lanes. And also do want to reiterate that this speed data is particular to October 2024, same with MTA, which is actually prior to the start of congestion pricing, where we saw a reduction overall within the congestion pricing zone of general traffic volumes. So with that being said, we also wanted to take a look at every individual block of curb regulations on both sides of Madison Avenue. As I previously discussed, we on the west curb, there is a variety of curb regulations. So mainly commercial meter parking, but also some general meter parking bordering Madison Square Park between 23rd to 26th Street. Otherwise, there's also hotel and truck loading, a couple of blocks of MTA bus layover parking, as well as a little bit of taxi zones as well. Contrasting this is the east curb, where perhaps for those of you who are constantly taking the bus, especially express buses to and from Madison Avenue, are aware the east curb is almost consistently throughout this entire corridor, local and express bus stops, as well as bus layover parking. There is about two half blocks of about hotel loading, taxi stands, and no parking, but otherwise the entire extent of the east curb is exclusively bus stops. In addition to looking at Madison Avenue directly, we also wanted to take into account side streets, which includes a mixture of daytime commercial meter parking, hotel loading zones, and taxi stands. And to summarize all of this, we basically on our findings, we found that with the bus stops on every block on the east curb and a variety of curb regulations on the west curb, there is also a mix of commercial storefronts, offices, and high-rise residences. Despite this, or rather because of this, there's slow bus speeds and high ridership, in part due to the frequent double parking by delivery vehicles, cars, and for hire vehicles. And all this to say that the current street design can be improved to better serve not just the bus riders and transit users on this corridor, but also drivers and vehicles accessing the curb as well. So with that being said, we are moving to our proposal where DOT and MTA are proposing to extend the existing 24/7 bus lanes that are from East 42nd to 60th and extend that further south all the way down to 23rd Street. This will maintain the west curb parking and loading, as well as one general travel lane on the west side for most of the blocks. And at particular blocks, we will continue to have two general travel lanes based on both the existing curbside rush hour travel lanes, as well as the addition of left turn bays, which I'll discuss a little bit in more detail in the next slide. But I also just want to point out here, based on this cross section, we are maintaining existing right turns, which is currently the case for the existing bus lanes, double bus lanes north of 42nd as well. To point out the benefits of the double bus lane, we want to emphasize that one of the biggest benefits is to better organize traffic flow. As we saw in the existing condition, currently the east curb is almost exclusively bus stops and bus layover space. By creating double bus lanes, highlighting both the curbside and the offset lane on the east side or the right side of the roadway, it still maintains commercial loading and passenger drop-offs and pickups on the left side, but encourages buses to specifically be using their respective lanes on the right side and other general traffic on the left side. And as part of the proposal, we are updating the curb management. As I previously stated, across the east curb, most of the curbside on the east curb is already no standing because of the existing bus stops and bus layover space. However, we are also going to repurpose those existing couple of commercial meter parking that are between 29th and 31st, as well as looking into other conflicting regulations and seeing whether that can also be repurposed to reduce that conflict even further. In addition, we are also adding half-block left turn bays on the west curb at 27th, 29th, 31st, and 33rd. So actually just a little bit south of CB6. And this will repurpose a couple, or rather 20 total spaces, which we are approximating as of right now. This is to improve the traffic flow based on our preliminary traffic analyses. We believe that adding these left turn bays will be the best balance between maintaining existing meter parking and loading needs, as well as ensuring that the remaining general travel lane will be able to have a continuous traffic flow for both through traffic and left turns. In addition to that, on the west curb, we are proposing to add a rush hour no standing between the block of 36th and 37th. So like I previously mentioned, there's currently no standing anytime between 34th to 36th Street, as well as there's already existing 1 to 7 p.m. No standing for between 37th to 42nd. So this is to normalize that one block that currently does not have that PM no standing for the purpose of improving traffic flow for that PM peak hour. In addition to all these specific changes, we also are looking into other potential improvements, such as updating the meter timing, as well as curb regulations on the side streets as well. And finally, I just want to reiterate that even though it seems like some of this might appear drastic in terms of changes to parking, the vast majority of the parking that exists on Madison Avenue are actually going to be retained, including the off-peak hour parking for that block between 36th and 37th. So with all this being said, I pass the mic back to Jamie to talk specifically about automated camera enforcement on MTA buses.
Thank you. So automated camera enforcement, or ACE, helps to improve bus speeds and reliability, and is a tool that uses camera mounted on buses to issue violations to vehicles that are driving in a bus lane, double parked on the street, or standing at a bus stop. That said, vehicles can still continue to make quick pickups and drop-offs on the bus lanes. ACE has recently been activated for the M2 and M4, which travel on Madison Avenue for part of their northbound service. The M2 travels on Madison Avenue between 25th Street and 110th Street, while M4 travels on Madison Avenue between 32nd Street and 110th Street. We think that pairing the proposed bus lanes with ACE will go a long way in improving the bus service along Madison Avenue.
Thanks again, Jamie. So to summarize our presentation, buses, commercial loading, and other vehicles are currently competing for limited space on Madison Avenue south of 42nd Street. We believe our proposal will improve bus speeds and reliability for the tens of thousands of daily bus riders, while also maintaining existing curb access for local businesses and residents. In addition, we believe that the double bus lanes will better allocate roadway space between transit riders, commercial drivers, and other road users such as pedestrians and other users of the space. So with all this being said, our next steps are currently to refine the design and finalize the traffic analysis. And later in the summer, we are planning to implement the final design, and we will continually monitor the ongoing performance of the corridor between fall and winter of 2025. So with that being said, thank you very much again, everyone, for coming out tonight and listening to our presentation. Um, uh, we are open to discussion and questions. I am able to jump back to any slides if there's any specific questions to those.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll do the same way we did on the last agenda item. We'll start with committee questions. We'll go to comment, and then we'll come back for further discussion. One thing to point out, just while we're as we start this off, I just want to note that we have a fairly limited section of Madison Avenue that is within CB6's bounds. We only have a half of the street, the east side of the street between 34th Street and 40th Street. The rest of Madison Avenue is entirely within CB5. Also, I'll note that CB5 Transportation Committee has passed a resolution in favor of this. And I know we have their Transportation Committee chair on the attendees list, and I think we'll hear from him possibly in a few moments, but I'll open up questions from the committee. Anyone have anything? Michael?
Actually, yes. So I was looking at some of the plans for the double bus lanes. And I wanted to notice, so I saw that on the left side of the street. You know, I think I thought there was a plan to eliminate taxi stands on the left side of Madison Avenue.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I think I was having technical difficulties. Could you repeat that one more time?
I think I saw that there was a plan to eliminate taxi stands on the left side of Madison Avenue.
Oh, yes. Let me pull back up the. So currently there is an existing taxi relief stand at the corner of 26th and Madison, as well as on the east curb between or rather at the corner of 30th and Madison. So as part of our proposal, we are considering removing the taxi hail stand at the corner of 30th and Madison, in part because based on internal data, there's actually very limited hailing activity at that particular corner. What we find, especially nowadays with ride hail, not just for Uber and Lyft, but also even taxis nowadays oftentimes use ride hail. The hail stand at that particular location is not being used. So we believe that the best optimization may actually be to provide that to the buses. But the final curb regulations have not been set in stone in that. So we can definitely take a look into it if there's concerns about removing that taxi hail stand specifically.
Thanks. And I'll point out those locations are all in CB5's jurisdiction, not CB6. Larry, let's go to you.
Yes. I am a very frequent user of the buses on Madison Avenue, and I do notice the tremendous service improvement where you do have the double lanes already. I strongly support this.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple hands from on the Zoom. I'd like to go to Samir, and we'll waive the 1 minute timer if for you, given that you're the chair of the CB5 Transportation Committee. Go ahead, Samir.
I'll be brief. I'm also the vice chair, so I just want to make sure I
Sorry,
don't
thank you.
misstate my credentials. Yeah, so we passed the resolution support. I just wanted to let you know what it said. Basically, we support the design and implementation of the Madison Avenue Bus Improvement Project from East 23rd to East 42nd. And then we also asked that the DOT come back to us with a report on ongoing performance within 6 months of implementation, and publicly post that report and any data available around the performance of the project on an ongoing basis. Basically, there was some discussion on the committee around just, having more data to make sure that it's working. We don't expect it to, have any issues, and we expect it to work, but it would be good to have the data and have it be fully public. That's all.
Thanks, Mayor. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening again. I'm Jack Nierenberg, Vice President of Passengers United. I did want to use this opportunity to address a question that I asked at the previous presentation that was not answered. And that is for the Department of Transportation. So the DOT had oversight over an ableist bus plan in Queens, the Queens Bus Network redesign, which eliminated nearly 1,800 bus stops, disenfranchising people with mobility challenges. And the MTA claimed that this was done in support of faster buses. However, I have quantitative evidence, data that I've looked up that proves that people with mobility issues suffer a disproportionate burden because of the eliminated bus stops. So for the DOT, why are these projects, and I was referring to the 34th Street busway, why is the DOT given these more of a priority over really ensuring that everyday transit riders, their needs are satisfied with the MTA's planning projects, considering that the DOT has control and oversight over the bus stops, and that people with mobility issues and other disabilities are not disproportionately suffering as a result of these proposals, plans.
So is that a question about 34th Street, or was a question about Madison Avenue?
All of these.
Okay, so the question to DOT is, why are passengers with disabilities not?
The question is, as great as these proposals sound, it seems to me that the agency's priorities are not in the right place regarding really ensuring that people's needs are properly factored into these planning projects, and that the most vulnerable are not disproportionately overburdened and barriers to access are created for them with these projects. So how come these priorities are given these projects seem to be given priority over that?
Okay, thank you. I'll give DOT a chance to respond.
Yeah, I think I'll actually defer to my DOT colleague Sarah, or sorry, rather, I think I'll actually defer to the MTA colleagues, because I do acknowledge that there may be any issues with the Queens Bus Network redesign that you're referring to, but that is specific to yeah, like the MTA, if they would like to respond, but I can also provide a general response.
Yeah, and preferably, I don't, I'd like to keep the answer in specific to Madison Avenue, not the Queens redesign.
Yeah, I did also want to bring it to your attention, the Q101 is not going to go into Manhattan anymore, and that's in CB6.
Do we have someone from MTA?
Sure. Hello. So your comment has been acknowledged, and if you provide your comment and your contact information to CB6, then they could forward it on to our government and community relations team, and then they would get back to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I have been in touch with them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. All right. Let's move on to Theodore. You now have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for the presentation. Big fan of double bus lanes. My question is more like in the long-term planning scheme. I know that the new Fifth Avenue plan does not include bike lanes, and I'm wondering, is there any sort of provision for in the long term including bike lanes on Madison Avenue, especially as maybe you reconfigure some of the parking on the left side and add left turn bays?
Yeah, thank you for your question. As of right now, this current proposal does not include bike lanes on the west curb. Given the current balance of the need to balance existing curb use due to the wide variety of like everything from residences to commerce, there already is quite a bit of like existing loading activity. And because this portion of Madison Avenue south of 42nd is already narrower, we did not see the opportunity or the ability to add bike lanes without effectively restricting all the curb use on the west side altogether. However, we will take your comments into note for any future potential projects. And in regards to Fifth Avenue, I would defer that more to the project managers at Fifth Avenue, given I know there's been a lot of conversation for that particular corridor.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Marshall.
Thank you. In regard to the 34th Street project, which I believe will ban passenger cars during certain times of the day.
Sorry,
can you hear me?
We're on the topic of Madison Avenue. We've closed out discussion on 34th Street. Did you have a comment on Madison Avenue?
I don't.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza, yet again, president and founder of Passengers United. We're a transit advocacy organization. So in this case, we do support the Madison Avenue proposal. We think it's a good idea. I do want to point out one thing. So the Q32 runs along Madison Avenue. That's why we brought up Madison Avenue. And guess what? Next year, you guys are going to be going through the Manhattan redesign. And when your bus stops are being eliminated, I want to see what the reaction is going to be. Because seniors, people with limited mobilities, we all support transit, we do. But eliminating 1,800 bus stops in Queens should make you guys alert in Manhattan. Because in Manhattan, they're planning to gut the bus service. And a lot of routes like the M55, the 5, several routes are going to be cut back. So again, you need to pay attention to what's happening in Queens, because when it comes here to Manhattan, you guys are going to have major issues. So that's all I have to say. And you need more diversity on this board. That's what I feel. And I think sometimes I know you all have personal opinions on transit, but you need to listen to what the people are saying. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Chris.
You know,